Are you doing good? Still seeing improvements with your dad?
Yeah, so he's just ticking along. His weight sort of obviously stopped coming completely down, but yeah, he's just ticking along really nicely. So
Mhm.
yeah, I've got an appointment with the person who's coming is the other lady
Yeah.
who has avoided surgery. So she's gone
Awesome.
back on. Funnily enough, she went on holiday for a week and she started introducing alcohol. Resting heart rate started going back up again. So
That would happen always. It's
yeah,
very quick. Yeah.
exactly. So having noticed it now, she's kind of like, no, I'm going to go back onto the other diet. So she's
Sometimes it's good. I remember reading, it's a book that I can't find anymore. I think he's discontinued it, but it's one I always recommend to you guys, The Dark Side of Fat Loss by Sean Croxton. And in that sort of diet book, it's very paleo-esque, but he has people 30 days of basically all common inflammatories and working on the lifestyle. And on day 31, he goes and tells them to eat whatever they like. And the reason he does this is because by day, the next day, they're like, oh God, I feel like I've been hit by a bus. I ain't doing that again. In the
yeah,
same way, like you've now used resting heart rate as a metric to be able to go, oh,
look
that's
at
what
that.
changed my body. Oh, this ain't worth it. As opposed
Yeah,
to just kind of going, well, I have a bit of a hangover, but well, I'll do it next week. Like,
exactly. And even
really.
scale weight, like I mean, scale weight's kind of got more emotion around it, hasn't it? But you can't, you're not influencing heart rate in the same way. So it's kind of, yeah, I think heart rate's kind of like, oh, that's a bit more than, oh, I put a couple of pounds on, not to worry, I can lose it a bit. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
whoa, I put my heart rate up.
Yeah,
So,
it is exactly, and yeah, you can lose that again in a week or so, but it's that connotation around health, and I
yeah.
think it's some of the big things, like if you can build awareness of people's choices have consequences,
Mm,
um, you'll find your clients are more likely to choose themselves at making the right decision. So it's like
yeah.
when people change their life around when they um people change their life when they get diagnosed with diabetes or get
Mm.
divorced or whatever else, right? They,
Hooray!
yeah, hooray. They we don't want a big life milestone to make your clients have to make that change. But if you can
Mm,
do things like if someone's like, I always use the analogy of sleep. If someone is sleep deprived and it's they like, and you tell them all the benefits of sleep, you can reference every page in Matthew Walker's book. But if they're like, yeah, but I stay up and I close 2 business deals, I don't care. Whereas if you can go, hey, do you know every time you've had a bad night's sleep, you eat 500 calories more and your weight goes up the next day? It's like, actually, he's making an impact. It's that
mm,
like people want to get away with stuff,
mm,
right? So like
mm.
if you can show them they're not getting away with stuff, they
It's the
might
whole,
not choose it, but at least then it's a choice.
yeah, the whole Jordan Peterson thing about the whole you cannot, twist the fabric of reality and expect it not at some point to come back and bite you on the ass. And
Yes,
it's that thing as if you can show them the consequences in real terms of that is not just, because weight can be kind of like, oh, it could be water, it could be salt, it could be hormones, it could be this, could be, so,
exactly,
this is
exactly.
heart. Like
Yes,
this
exactly.
is kind of that's a big metric, and which is why like training to heart rates, those sorts of things are really because your heart takes everything into consideration, doesn't it? As
Mm.
opposed to like, oh, I just wasn't feeling it that day or whatever. It's like,
And it's
you know,
very causation with alcohol because alcohol you can drink it and then you see these effects like HRV and alcohol. You've had a bad night in alcohol, like
yeah,
anything. It's just the body really, but you just see that such real time
yeah,
effect that it's like it's not anything else.
it's undeniable.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly
So
that.
yeah. So anyway, so she's seen that and kind of, well, not just alcohol as well, obviously, but just being able to go, oh, okay, well, that has X equals Y. Okay. So it's good. So no, good.
Awesome.
Generally good. Yeah.
Well, as
Issue
you're on
with
the biggest time frame, do you have any particular client questions or struggles or queries or even anything related, really?
not that's punching me in the face right now. I've got a lot of people who are kind of just all of a sudden going, oh, I've better start doing some stuff. That's
Okay,
that this
run
week,
up to
this
summer.
yeah, I guess it's the shorts might be coming out at some point thing.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. Okay,
but
cool.
that
Well,
would
let's
be
well let's run with the thing I haven't done in a little while with this. It's like if you put in the chat how many current clients that you've got, feel free to split it into online or in person if you want. You can give me the total number, that's fine. Um, but how many roughly? It doesn't have to be the exact number, but how many roughly have you got on your rosters? 8, 38. Cool. And Ashley, I don't know if you can type, but feel free to say it or no worries if you're driving around a busy interstate. Um, But of those numbers, how many of those would you say are on track and how many are off track from their target? And this is if they're not haven't got weight loss goals. They could be any goal, but the key thing here is, are you tracking some metric? Okay, cool. So 6. So that's good. So Kane's within that 1 and 4, which is great.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, I'd say between, like, some people don't have a goal.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So it is kind of, but then perhaps their larger goal is they are still doing. So for example, I've got a lady with fibromyalgia who is just, her goal is to continually get better, and
Yeah.
she is. So that's
I
kind of
think,
like,
I think, I think when you certainly, it gets trickier when you're looking at elderly population, things like that, especially people with conditions, right? But you want to start thinking of, okay, how do I quantify something? So I might be able to quantify. It's not a weight loss thing, but weight loss is very quantifiable. You know, it's like, I've lost 10 kilos, I want to lose 20. I'm losing 0.9 per week, I've lost 1.1. But so how do we quantify this? So we might be able to quantify pain with fibromyalgia because it's all up here.
activity.
With anyone, not just fibromyalgia, just everyone's pain is up here, right? I could stab myself with a needle and cry, and you could stab yourself with a needle and be like, you know. But maybe we could look at like some level of performance goals, whether it's movement capabilities, you can go through greater range of motion pain-free. Like, can we quantify something so we can put it in that bracket so we know we're getting something? Because the part of the reason why I do this, one, so we can get you as many results as possible, but also people leave coaching programs when they stop seeing value. And it might, and sometimes it doesn't always mean that they're not getting value, is that they just can't see the value. So, like, how many people do you have, how many clients do you know that have lost like well over 1% of their body weight per week and then go, yeah, I'm not losing weight. And like, oh, nothing's happening. I've not lost any weight. I'm like, are you serious? And if you can quantify that well, you can make them realize that they're doing really, really well. If you can't quantify that well, even though they are doing really well, they don't see it, they leave.
No. I've got one chap who's he's done consistent. He's kind of one of those people where he expect his goals don't meet his actions. So I do have one chap like that who's kind of, he's like, oh yeah, I'd really like to get really lean, but then he won't track his food for like 4 days. And I'm like, well, what have you eaten? And he's like, well, no, I tried to stay on goal. And I'm like, we can't do, like, so yeah, that's really hard. I guess.
I think with him, you just want to ask as many open questions as humanly possible, right?
Yeah.
So it's never a judgment thing. It's like, all right, cool. Run me through what you thought you ate, and what was the thing that made you hesitant to track it? Because by the sound of things, you didn't track it. You asked him what he ate. He said that I tried to stay on track, which means he didn't stay on track, which means he probably didn't track it because he's worried that he didn't stay on track. So there's a guilt element in there. So before we unpack changing his food, we need to unpack the guilt, because he might be thinking I've gone off plan because I ate a hobnob or a packet of biscuits. Well, you might be able to put that packet of biscuits in, but you don't know unless he's told you.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Ask as many open questions as possible there.
For him, it's a routine thing, I think, that he does it for a few days and then he stops because he forgets, and then he doesn't do it because he's forgotten a couple of days, and then he gets into you know what I mean? It's that sort of getting it to be a habit. He really struggles to form a habit for some reason. So,
okay. So what could you do to ingrain that habit of tracking his food?
I think what he wants me to do is kind of message him 4 times a day to remind him to track his food.
You could do. It's a pain in the ass. I've done it with people.
Yeah.
I think the easier thing to do is like looking, because if he's if he's tracking as he goes, it's a very difficult habit to track, because what you're not setting in there is you're not tracking one habit, you're setting in 4 habits, right? So if we take that, instead of going, if we can then try and install that habit now from going track breakfast, track lunch, track dinner, track snack. How about I track, what day are we at today? Tuesday. Today we track Wednesday's food. So tonight when you get home from work, find a habit that he already does. Sits on the sofa and watch Netflix, cooks dinner, something he does without fail. Brush his teeth, go to the toilet, because most people are playing on the phone on the loo, right?
Terrifying, really, but yeah.
Yeah, like if we can use one of those habits that he always does and go, right, I want you to track tomorrow's food in there, and then you can plan around your meetings and plan whatever, and then do that. That's going to be an easier habit to track than trying to do it 4 times a day, and it's probably going to be more accurate because it's proactive rather than, what did I have for breakfast this morning? Then you've got a better chance for success rate, because he only has to get 7 times a week.
Yeah, true enough.
Not 28 times a week.
Right, I'll shut up now and let someone else talk.
That's all cool. 37 new clients as a new challenge yesterday. Is that paid challenge, Aisling, or is it free? Because that's a huge number.
He's paid.
It's a paid challenge. Yeah.
Wow, well done. Well done. Your marketing is clearly on point.
She's the queen.
I don't know about that now. But no, I've been doing them for like 2.5 years now. And like, obviously January, I had a lot bigger numbers. Obviously coming into the summer, it's like, oh, I've weddings on, I've holidays, and I'll come back to the next one. And that's fine. Look, you can't force anyone.
Yeah.
But a lot of girls say, I'm lucky enough that usually like between 40 and 50% of clients continue on to the next one.
Okay.
So I always seem to have, and I always do like a discounted rate. I always give them like 20% off if they purchase the next one within the first 48 hours. So like people, oh my God, the minute they hear discount, it could be €2 off. It's like, yeah, sign me up. So I kind of have that rolling now as well, that kind of keeps people interested.
Do you market on email or Instagram, or where's your biggest kind of, where do you get the most retention or sort of people from?
It would be mostly Instagram, Sam. I'm desperate, and people kill me for saying this. I'm desperate for emails. I am trying to prioritize them a bit more, but it's mostly Instagram. But I will be honest, my biggest form of marketing is word of mouth.
Okay.
100%. Like every time someone signs up and it's like, how did you hear about me? It's like a friend. It's very rarely Instagram. It's a friend. It's like, oh, my friend did this. And to be fair, like I have one woman, and I'm not messing, the amount of people she has. Like she has bought her daughter-in-law my challenge as a birthday present. She has bought a friend at work my challenge as a birthday present. So it's just like, I'm really lucky.
Fans. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. I'm really lucky with certain clients that they do kind of keep recommending me. So long may it last, because my Instagram marketing is not the best.
That was my online coaching. Exactly the same. That again. My online coaching when I was doing it was nearly all built by word of mouth, and it was mainly one Serbian dude who just knew everybody. And people didn't speak any English, none at all.
Yeah. Amazing.
So that would be it. Now, look, I do a bit on Instagram, but I just find that, like, I don't know, like the challenge is less than €25 a week, and for all they get, it's like when people, like, I get so many messages on Instagram, how much is it? And then you tell them how much it is, and it's like, no, blank, ghosted. I'm like,
I know, it's ridiculous.
It's very, very hard. But then they're the same people that will literally complain on a call to you that they're so unhappy. And look, again, everyone's different. Everyone has different circumstances, but
everyone's like that. Everyone's like that. I've got coaches that tell me they can't afford it, and they don't understand why they're making no money on their $5 to $6 grand business mentorship. I'm like, well, you obviously can afford it, and there's a reason why your marketing's not working, because there is no results on your page.
Yeah, 100%. I'm very lucky now. I did a in-person event day, and I'd say about 8 of the girls agreed to do testimonials. So I've been kind of putting them up, and even I put up one last night, and I got a call booked in for today. So we'll see how that goes. I'm trying again, when people, like most of my girls, if they will let me share their results, they won't let me name them. So that's a massive thing. But now with the testimonials, people are actually seeing their faces and seeing, oh my God, well, this girl is young, this girl is older. They're seeing a mix. Do you know, that's it? They're like, oh, well, these are real people as well. So I think that has helped with the testimonials as well. So I have another group to go as well, which is good.
I had a discovery call yesterday, and the lady said, oh, I wasn't sure if I was going to, if I'm not sure I'm going to use you or if I'm going to get a gym membership. I'm like, it's a bit like seeing, am I going to get a car or a driving instructor? You're going to need both. It's just like, oh, I'm going to go and join this really expensive gym. Okay, well, good luck with that. I hope that works out well.
So looking at that, Aisling, it's obviously like 50% on track, which is good, which is a pretty good ratio. I think the key thing, the reason why I set this 1 in 4 target is for twofold. One, to make sure that people are hitting the minimum standard, but also be able to give themselves a break. Because you look at 50%, you will on the days where you feel stressed about a bad night's sleep, you'll look at the 50% of people that aren't getting results, rather than the 50% of people that are. And 50%, 1 in 2 is a very good batting average. And the bigger you grow, the more people that won't be getting results. It doesn't make you a worse coach. It means that you just got more numbers because the more people also will be. Is there any like pressing questions you have from the current crop of people? Anyone you're struggling with?
Oh, there's a few, to be honest.
Go
But
for it.
it's the exact same problem I have every time. It's like they're like tracking Monday to Friday, the weekend comes, they go out, and it's just like they can't. It's like they want results, but they're not willing to give up their social life. And like I've said this, I've been like, we have to make a choice. If you're happy for progress to be incredibly slow, then we can do that. Because every week they're losing weight, comes to Friday, they weigh in, then they don't weigh in Saturday and Sunday, comes to Monday, they're gone up 2 or 3 kg, and then their average is spiked for the following week. So every week the average is looking like they're not moving because they're coming right down, then they're back up again and right down. And it's very frustrating. And then they're like, oh, I don't have time to do this, I'm so busy, I'm so overwhelmed. And I said to one girl, I didn't even say it to her, but she said in her check-in last week, and don't even ask, can I get up earlier in the morning, because I can't. And I'm like, whoo, okay.
She doesn't want to. I avoid that. Yeah, she absolutely doesn't want to do that. I think two things you can think about here, right, is like if you're looking at that, so for yourself when you're tracking data, right, if you know that Monday's going to skew the average because they've gone out on the weekend, your goal is to try and set them targets for what they're going to be each Friday. So each Friday, I want you to be lower than the previous Friday, right?
Okay.
So that means that, like, if you're looking, because like averages are great, but again, that skews it and it's artificial because they're going on a bender. So okay, if I that means they've encouraged like, oh, she's not telling me I can't go out and have a drink, but I need to make sure by the following Friday I either make it up or I dial it in. They can strategize this to however they want. Like, have you ever seen the TV show Race Across the World? Right, so two people go, they go from like Greenwich to Singapore with series 1 that I'm going through, right? They can go whatever route they want as long as they get to Singapore. Same thing here, right? Goal is however they want to look or the body weight they want to be, right? How they get there is kind of up to them in a way. So they can decide to go ham on the weekends, push really hard, do 20,000 steps Monday through Friday. Doesn't matter as long as they're low about that Friday. And it just takes that pressure off of you being the naggy aunt going, you sure you want to go out on the weekend? You know, isn't that one too many? It's now, look, you can do what you want, but we want to be lower by Friday. And if you're not lower by Friday, then we have to have this conversation. And the second thing you can think of for them, low ball them in the week. It's not the ideal situation. I would much rather them have a consistent calorie intake 7 days a week where they can manage their energy and their training and have some better nutritious food. But if they're not losing because of their weekends are like this, then the week's got to go down like this. And in that situation, right, even if it's a little bit lower than you'd like, think of it this way. One, it might just get some people who just, they're really prioritized and they really live for the weekends because they don't like their life and they hate their job and don't have a husband or whatever else, right? It means they found a solution. Or what you'll find is that people will go, Aisling, I'm starving. I've done this for a few weeks. I'm starving. What can I do? I was like, the only thing we can really do is maybe look at those weekends again. Are you willing to do it? And maybe the thought of being starving changes this conversation.
Yeah.
But if you've got 2,000 calories and then they go to 3,200 not losing, that conversation isn't there because they're kind of having both worlds and they can just hide from low results. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100% makes sense. And like, the thing is, sometimes I feel like she does want results, and then the next times I think she just doesn't care. Like, and I'm like,
that's
you know, it's hard because like
you care.
Yeah, I do care, and I do because she has a lot. She's like 100 and something kg. Like, she has a lot of weight to lose. She's only like 30. Like, she's a young girl as well. That like you're just like, come on, like you really could be so much happier in yourself. Like, do you know what I mean?
Give her sort of a little bit of empathy. You don't get to over 100 kilos by the age of 30 without having some deep-rooted issues with food. So you got to find that she's probably brought up in a place where she's never ever really learned to cook. She's probably brought up on takeaways and like whatever else. So like she probably has low self-esteem from when she was little. So I don't think that she necessarily doesn't necessarily want it, but there's definitely issues that she needs to uproot, and that might be above your scope. But like maybe more questions leaning into how does she feel after having a certain food. You remember we talked about that group training model where we talked about that first week is having awareness. It's like, okay, maybe your goal this week is to change nothing. But what I want you to do is I want you to take note of how you feel 30 minutes after everything you eat and drink. Like, do you feel good about this? At what point did it stop feeling good and start being too much? At what point do you feel stuffed, overly stuffed, sluggish, tired? Like maybe she needs to start, because she's probably self-medicating with food. And if some people self-medicate with food, they're not going to be thinking about how they feel. They're just going to be like people having a fag. They're not thinking about how shit they feel. It's just, I need a fag. It's just, it's impulse, it's reaction. So maybe having a week where she doesn't change anything but start building awareness. Maybe adding some things to start having delays in there. So like, can you delay that? Anything she does, let's say she eats when she's stressed, could we have some delay in place? Okay, could you read a chapter of a book if you like reading? Could you do some meditation? Could you go for a walk? And if after that, you have my permission. It's not I'm telling you can't eat that. It's like, let's leave a gap. And if you still want after the gap, that's your call. But now it's not an impulse. Now it's something you actually want. And just asking those open questions like, how do you feel with that? Like, just get to tap into where that mentality is a little bit more rather than the pure process of what she needs to do. Because that's not
I 100% agree.
acting emotionally.
Yeah, no, 100%. And even like I'm reading Kane's message here as well, that like, you know, habits she's developed over the years. And I 100% agree with you. But like we're 6 months in and she has about seven max 8 kg lost. And like, as I said, she's 119, 120 she started at. She's probably down to 112 now. But like, I remember when we first started, well, even on the call, our first discovery call, she was like, I have takeaways every weekend. And I'm like, okay, can we potentially do every second weekend and start off doing fakeaways every second weekend? That when you do have it every second weekend, it's more of a treat. And to be fair to her, she leaned in from the get-go, and then she did 3 weeks. And then it was just, I don't know what has gone wrong since, kind of a thing. But like, she's bridesmaid in November. She gets very defensive if like you're asking there about asking her how she feels after certain meals and stuff like that. She'd get very defensive if I ask her certain questions, like, because even this weekend she had a wedding and I gave her maintenance calories for the day, and I was like, look, even if you don't 100% track everything on the day, let's track the beginning of the day, that we have some form of data in there. Let's keep an eye, just be aware of how much you're drinking, rather than going for like the pints of Bulmers or something like that. Maybe stick to the spirits and diet mixers, just small little things like that. And then she came back and she was like, yeah, that's perfect. And she was like, and it's bank holiday as well, so I'll be out again. I'm just like, oh, for fuck's sake, like, you know, just, that's fine, but like, does it always have to be? And then even like weekends she has nothing on, she'll find something midweek to have something on. So I'm just like, is it that she has to be doing something, or is it that she has to be eating and drinking, or else life is fulfilled? No, she has a boyfriend.
Because it sounds almost like she's lonely, that she feels that she needs connection.
Yeah.
And, you know, and Kane, I'll come to that in a second if you want to add something in a sec. But yeah, I like, if she's finding stuff to do, she doesn't want to be within her own thoughts. She's trying to, so there's definitely a self-medication with food. And I think, I'm not saying a softer approach to the approach, but a softer approach to the communication may be needed. I would lowball her in the week to create that deficit. And then just in that time, just start having just almost take that pressure off, like that. You can see that frustration in your voice. Oh, just come on. Like, if you're thinking that here, might tip off to her.
No, I will actually say, sorry, to add there, I am the opposite. Like, she was having a meltdown last week when she said that about, you know, don't even ask, I can't get up earlier. I had a good 3 deep breaths before I went onto the Zoom, and I was so compassionate. I was like, let's take the pressure off this week. Let's go for a week of maintenance. Let's feel like, get her energy back up, because she's exhausted. She is working and she is studying, but like, you know, she's working.
The opposite then.
Say that again.
Maybe try the no worries, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Maybe try the opposite then. Like, if you've been trying the more empathetic, softer approach, and not getting anywhere, maybe you need to have a little bit more assertive. I'm like, look, I totally get it. You've got a lot on your plate. You've got work, you've stuff you want to do on the weekends, right? But we've got this thing in November, and right now we're going to be the same way as we are right now. So I appreciate that it's hard. I appreciate you don't want to do X, Y, and Z, but what is our solution? Maybe it needs to be a bit, because maybe she just needs that accountability. Maybe she goes, I can get away with this, I'll lean on her. Kane, what were you going to add?
I was just going to say, like, even 8 kilos to her is probably going to be a lot in terms of what she has lost, especially if she hasn't like managed to lose weight in the past. But I think I think when you are that way, I think you still become slightly comfortable being there, even if you don't like it. And it might be easier for her to do the other things because it means she doesn't have to change her whole life. So it's if she is having like takeaways all the time and meals out, it could be a case of like, can we plan those in advance and know maybe what restaurants we're going to or what takeaways we're going to have and find probably the best options that are going to fit your sort of calories and stuff, rather than just saying, oh, well, I have a takeaway every week. Because like, I know for myself, it was very much like I was over 100 kilos a year ago. And the habits that get me to where I am are like different to what got me to where they are, but it takes a long time. And I think it could be like, right, where do you want to go? Okay, Nando's on Saturday. Okay, here's the options that are going to fit what you have, rather than just sort of being like, well, I'm going out on the weekend, don't know what's going to happen. And I think if you can then sort of involve her and yourself in the process and be like, right, if you want to go out, have this. If you're going out on bank holiday, maybe we do bank a little bit, but also if it is the maintenance, be like, right, it is going to be a bit slower if you have all these days off. And I think I have a lot of people where it's like you want to be empathetic, but you also got to be like, do you want this goal or do you want to go out more? And I don't think there's like a wrong way of doing it. But I have people that did really well go on little binges, and I'm like, right, what's causing this? And sort of get to it and then sort of reaffirm that the sort of strategies that you take might not necessarily work in that instance and just use something else. Like it isn't easy, but I think just use other ways of measuring her progress as well. Because even 8 kilos for someone like quite big is going to be a lot. And it might be a case where maybe they're not ready to like commit 100% to losing weight all the time and they don't want to lose like all these social things, which is quite understandable. But I think if you do plan ahead, I found that helped me a lot. Like especially if I was like, right, I'm going to Chiquitos on the weekend, cool, that's where we're going, that's what I'm going to have. And then you kind of know. And then it's not like, oh, well, I went to Domino's and had a 3,000 calorie pizza because that's all there was. And I had like 12 beers because, that's what it was. But I think if you can plan ahead and actually know what's going to happen, then it's a lot easier to like mitigate the amount of damage you'd end up doing to the result in general.
Yeah. I think there's an element there of, well, there's got to be a point of being relatively assertive with it. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, give the option Kane suggested. If she's not willing to be proactive and plan ahead, it's like, okay, do you have any impact on where you go? No. Okay, cool. Are you willing to change the stuff you had before the day? So maybe you can buffer some calories in the evening? No. Okay. Are you okay with this being a week where you might not lose any weight? Like, there's no option B. It's a yes or no question. So I think when you want to know how she feels, lean into the open questions. When she wants to give you excuses, lean into closed questions.
Yeah. It's just like I've asked her, like I have said, like, if there is something every weekend, it's going to be much harder to see progress. And she was like, well, I don't want to give up my social life. And I'm like, that's fine. And yes, I do have an agreed loss with her each week, a half kg, and not once has she hit that.
Okay.
Like not once.
Have you asked that what she feels for not hitting it?
No, she'd get.
But might be worth it. Like, look, like again, we haven't hit it, right? How do you feel about not hitting that target? Because you're going to get two things. You're going to feel bad about it, right? And in which case, okay, cool. So you're wanting to hit this target, yeah, okay. So what do you think you could do next week to hit this target that doesn't compromise what you want to do in a week too much? What's like the least interference thing? Let her come up with a suggestion rather than yourself. Let's try that. If she hits it, fantastic. If she doesn't, we try another one. And if she goes, I don't mind not hitting that per week. Cool. So do you want to change this rate of loss? And as Kane says, aim for 0.25%. So like then at very least, even if it's painfully slow, at least it's not painfully slow where you're expecting a certain amount of weight loss and she's expecting a certain amount of weight loss that's lower. At least you're both on this low ball. So yeah, I think because it's so easy when you've got a target. If I set myself a target at 1% per week, right, which would be now about 0.9-ish, right? If I didn't hit that, I could easily justify it, especially when if you're smarter the person, the more they can justify themselves. I can justify why that's fine. I can ignore that. That's fine. But why do people stop weighing themselves when you stop dieting? Why do people that stop weighing themselves often gain weight outside out of mind? I can ignore that. I haven't hit that. And it's uncomfortable then when coach brings that back to the forefront and go, hey, you know, we missed that target. And that's partly necessary. Part of keeping someone accountable is pushing someone out their comfort zone and reminding them stuff that they don't want to be reminded of. Because it's because they don't remind themselves of that stuff is the reason they're in this position in the first place. You don't get to 120 kilos at 30 as a female without ignoring a lot of the signs that you were getting too much weight. So she's clearly an avoider in that sense. So your job is to do the opposite. And sometimes it's going to be tricky. She might get defensive, but you're pushing someone out of their comfort zone. Her comfort is going out to benders on the weekends, getting takeaways every night. That's her routine. That's how she handles stress. That's how she managed to view the world. You're there to question it, and then that sometimes will come up with slightly defensiveness, and it's just kind of like you just got to go, okay. And it's hard.
It is hard because, like, even when Kane was saying there about, like, you know, trying to plan ahead where she's going, her boyfriend is a rally driver, so like they could be in different parts of Ireland at different weekends, and like she never knows where she's going to eat, and like it is like it's not, I think it's the environment as well. It's very much like pints and pizza rather than, you know, gin and slimline and salad. Like I very much think it is the environment as well.
It's many exercise classes.
I can't stop that. What?
Does she go to any exercise classes?
She goes, so I gave her a gym plan. She did it for a week. She was like, I don't like this. And I was like, fine, okay, that's fine. So she's doing gym classes, but 1 week she could do 3, 1 week she could do none. Yeah. And she also went over on her foot at the wedding at the weekend. So she's out of action now for I don't know how long.
So I'm not less thinking from an exercise perspective, but I'm more thinking from like what does she like to do? Could she join clubs? Because like I'll throw my current situation here. I need to look at what my life's going to look like now. And one of the things I want to do is to join clubs of things that are going to be healthy and get myself back into good shape and all that sort of stuff. And I think if someone's environment is heavily around drinking and curries and takeout, we see a lot of people talk about their environment that spend less time with those friends. Yeah, but they could have been your friends since you were 6. Like there's no way that you're going to ditch your good friends. But what you could do is start to add in new social circles of healthier items. And you're not telling her to do anything. You're just getting her in a social circle. Well, she now has this group of friends that goes out drinking. And then she now has also this group of friends that's in her book club that goes out and has 1 glass of wine and it's not a big night and they read some books. And you have this group in a Zumba class that do exercise related stuff, and this group in the walking group that just go out and have a walk in the evenings. And now all of a sudden we slowly see this shift as she starts to spend more time with these new people, makes some new exciting friends, and feels good after doing them as opposed to feeling shit after doing them. And that thing you've not done anything except push her to meet new people. And if she feels that she needs a weekend and she's finding stuff, maybe we work on trying to control what she's finding as opposed to trying to stop her doing what is her comfort blanket. Because I'll tell you what, if again, I'll use my own example here, right? If someone asks me to go for a beer in this current circumstance, I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
Because things are tough.
No,
but if I was after a climbing group, I'd also take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I 100% agree with you, 100%. But the problem is, I don't think she wants to branch out. Like, I don't think she wants to because she's comfortable with, during the week. She does, to be fair to her. But like there was 1 week she was going to the classes in the morning for work and she was like, I feel amazing. I'm so proud of myself. I've never got up to exercise in the morning. It felt great. Next week, she was out that weekend. Next week, gone. Not a hope. She was like, no, I'm too tired. I'm not getting up in the morning. And then the evenings, she's just not getting them done. But I feel like she goes home and I think she lives with the boyfriend. And I think it's very much they go home and they watch Netflix each evening. Now, she works at a desk from 9 to 5:30, and like if I even asked her to have more than 2,000 steps done before she comes home at 5:30, it'd be like asking her to, I don't know, starve herself for 30 days. Like she just can't understand how she could get more than 2,500 steps. 9 to 5:30.
Kane's question is pretty good there. Ask her what the positives are of staying where she's at.
Yeah,
because that makes her assess like the comfort zone. That makes her assess what of that's important and what that's comfortable. Because we've mentioned comfortable so many times. This is her problem. She's comfortable, and and if she had the week, like she's had the week where she went and felt really good about herself, and it's like, would you like to feel like that every week? Yes, cool. Yeah. Tell me what happened the week after. Why did we not want to do it? And it was like, oh, because I was tired. Okay, cool. What led to us being tired? Oh, because I was hungover. Cool, right. So tell me about the positives of of having a drink on the weekend, and she might come up with loads.
Yeah.
But you're just there to almost add not so much the moment of doubt, but just keep asking those little questions that just makes her question the things she does for comfort, the things she does because she can. Because eventually, right? Because this is not guaranteed. People drink themselves to death on a weekend till their 80s sometimes, but people's priorities shift in life. And
Yeah.
at some point, she will have a big enough thing. And it might be getting in November and not fitting in the bridesmaid's dress or not liking any of the photos. And all of a sudden, she starts being more receptive to this. But the fact that you were always the one that tried. Now, I've had clients that I barely lost any weight with them in years. And then all of a sudden, they got a great result. Something changed in it that shifted their priorities. And I was the one that never gave up on them. So they just continued.
Yeah.
You know?
There's one other thing I do want to mention, and it's actually just have to click and move me there. All her friends are that bit bigger as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think, like, one of them had a hen there, one of them's get married, and they went to Ibiza on a hen, and there wasn't like, this is so horrible, but like there wasn't one that was in incredible shape that they'd be all like jealous of. They're all kind of bigger girls.
And they'll encourage each other. It's all right. You look great how you are. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. It's beautiful. I'll have another drink. Oh, we'll go for big dinners. And yeah, they cheer each other on.
Yeah.
And that's when she's stressed right now. She's got her friends, which will encourage her to stay big. That is her stress relief. And then you've got changing foods to things that she doesn't like as much, that doesn't create as much of a stress relief from the food she was having as the alternative.
Yeah.
So it's tricky because you can't really tell her to ditch her friends, but maybe start having that conversation. Tell me about your social network. Like, do you feel they're supportive, or do they feel they encourage you to stay this, to stay in the way that you don't want? And just like asking those questions, they're difficult questions, but it's like, it's not saying like you don't spend as much time with them, but at least she starts to realize the impact they have. It might change her actions around them. Like, someone's going to be the person that leads the way.
Yeah.
And it's going to be her, or it's going to be someone else when they have a change of heart. And so I do think we need to lean into more open questions. And I just think in the short term of what you can absolutely guarantee, if she's going to go big on the weekends, she's lowball in the week.
Okay.
Yeah,
try that this week.
Yeah, like lowball, and then she moans about lowballing. She moans that she's really hungry. I was like, well, at the same time, you wanted to be, you want to be this weight for the wedding, right? We've tried a more, I don't even like the word sustainable, but you can use it here, approach. It's not worked, so we're going to try this, right? And then not even can we try this? We're going to try this, right? Let me know how you feel. And if she comes back saying, oh, I'm absolutely starving, okay, cool. What can we do for the weekends then to give you a bit more food in the week? And she then dictates that change. Kane, were you going to add something there?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think it's bad enough being a fat friend and wanting to change because of that. But I think if she's like one of the smaller ones in that group and they're all bigger, they're all gonna have the same sort of habits of like going out all the time, eating all the time. Like there's no sort of thought process about let's eat less, let's do less. Because especially if you're in that circle, it's very difficult to be, because you're not gonna want to be the odd one out either. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
because I go out even now and like people, I'll go to like Wetherspoons or something and my friends will have food and I'll just sit there with like a Coke Zero or something and be like, oh, this is shit. But it's also like not everyone's gonna have the habits where it's like maybe I just order some food to like fit in. And I think food and drink is such a social thing for people, but I think people almost struggle to like disconnect back with everything else. So it could just be a case of like, because she's around people that are, I guess, like-minded, maybe she's scared that if she changes, they're not gonna like want her in the group anymore or whatever else. Like, I think that could be a big thing.
It's really legit.
But I think it could be very different if like all her friends are in shape and she's not. But then she might be very comfortable with being like a fat friend because that's like what she's always been known as. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a massive mindset thing, but also like your environment is going to dictate a lot of stuff. And I think if they've never been there or never needed to change or whatever else, then I don't think they're gonna like be the most supportive people in terms of being like, oh, we understand that you got to eat less, or
if you think, Kane, in your situation, for you to be at Weatherspoons with your mates having food and you have it sitting with a Coke Zero, the reason that you can do that is because you have a big enough why, right? That gives you a driver. You have a deadline that gives you a driver. And you've got a little bit of an element of self-belief in you that you can achieve this target. If we look at this girl, she probably doesn't have any self-belief. So her saying that, oh, look, I'm sorry, I'm not going to have it. I'm going to have a Caesar salad and a glass of sparkling water at dinner will come back and bite her on the ass if in 6 months' time she's not lost any weight and she'll have to look silly against her friends, right? So that's the thing. And exactly, like, but Aisling, you had belief that you could do this. You had a plan, you had a goal, you might even have had a coach. Where she might not believe in herself, and it embarrasses her if she has to come back. And she's thinking this. She'll think, if I don't lose any weight, I'm gonna have to eat my own words, and we're gonna have to live with these people judging me for, oh, you're not drinking. What you're not drinking for? So I think we can build to that. She starts getting excited with it. But how can we find strategies for the weekends where it's like it almost is your friends don't even have to know you're doing what you're doing. So like I use the example of the drink. Like if you have pick your favorite spirit mixer, start with a vodka Diet Coke or something like that, and then you just keep having Diet Cokes. Your friends don't know there's no vodka in there, and then when your friend orders around, they get you a vodka Diet Coke. So you've now gone from 10 drinks to 5 because you only get alcoholic drinks again when other people buy them you, and then no one has to know. We can look at the same thing with food. It's like if you went to places with sharer portions. Could we go for the heavier protein stuff? If we ordered a burger, could we just start eating the burger and swap the chips for a side salad? Like these small adjustments, or even as Kane said earlier on, half a naan, half a bowl of rice, just choosing the bits that she eats more and prioritizes might be the first. It won't be huge because it's harder to track that, but it might be that first step in like not feeling like the odd one out, not feeling FOMO around her friends, which I can imagine in that social circle is monstrous.
It's literally it. It's just like, can you come up with small things? Like anytime I go out for a curry, I'll have half a naan, half a rice, half the calories, but I still get to do that thing. And then I just have a water or like a Pepsi Max or something, and that then halves it. But I think sometimes it's very hard to. But the other night I had a children's meal at Nando's, and it was great. And it was like fit my calories better than a normal one, and all that changes is like the size of a bun. So, and it was £6.50. But that could also be an option where you're like, maybe we have a smaller portion, maybe we share something instead of having this, maybe we have a medium pizza instead of a large pizza, and then you still get to have those things. But do you really need the barbecue wings with garlic bread and the cookie after? And if you do, maybe you save some for tomorrow, and then you end up having like 2 days worth rather than eating everything in one day.
And dictate where she goes. Like if I don't know where, I don't know if she's in a big city, but like she could be like, oh, let's go to this great tapas place I've learned, and then she can order the prawns and she can order the chicken, and then her friends don't know that she's deliberately just chosen protein only dishes, but she's just partly having part of this tapasy stuff. Has she told her friends she's dieting at any point? Do you know?
Yeah, she has, because the reason I know that is because one of her friends booked in for a call with me and cancelled, and then booked in again and then cancelled again. So she is obviously, she never actually got on the call in the end, the friend. So I do think her friends do know.
That's good. That's a good start.
Don't assume they know. They may not, but I'm just putting 2 and 2 together because the friend booked it. That's the only reason.
Then that's maybe worth asking her again. Like I think that's probably a fair assumption, but maybe it's worth asking it, because often you find that if people aren't telling their friends they're dieting, that tells you that they lack belief. That tells you that I don't want to tell them, because if I don't manage this, if I fuck this up, then I've got to eat my own words, and people don't like to admit they failed. So like, but if people tell people that like what they're doing, it forces them to continue doing it.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I do try and put that across about the importance of telling people around you and having supportive network and stuff like that. But that is a problem I do have. I have a lot of girls that haven't told anyone. And like don't want to tell anyone because of that reason. But like, I know Kane was saying there about like, maybe opting for a water, Diet Coke, or having half a portion. Like I asked her once, like, would it be possible when she was doing the day 2 of the wedding, is it possible maybe not to drink? Like, not to drink is not an option. Like, don't even ask.
Maybe you go for the option of booze or food. That's hard at a wedding, but like in general, you have booze or food. So
Oh, yeah.
if she wants to go out drinking, she has to go eat. She has to be smart with the food. If she wants to go hard on the food, she has to be smart with drink. So it's not, you've given her a choice there. You've not told her don't eat that and don't drink. It's hey, like food, drink or food. If you want to have the beers, you have a salad. If you want to have the pizza, you don't have the beers. You don't have both. That at least that means like there's a give and a take. There's a compromise here rather than just be that person going, "Do you not drink on Saturday?" Like if you lose more, you didn't drink on Saturday. It's like maybe booze or food could be the way forward with it. And then she like it's not perfect, but we're now going in that right direction. We've now got him choosing one, and maybe that becomes like think of things that could become a rule. If you got things that could like one plate rule at buffets, booze or food, only drinks when drinks are bought for her. Those little things become rules that slowly over time compound. And then later on the line, she might get into macros and all that sort of jazz and be on it. But we now need to get her below 100 kilos first. And even looking at, the precision nutrition portion control guides, they're not great for eating out because you can't really measure a thumb of oil. But like even like using that as a guideline here is like, look at that portion size. You can't control that, but could you control eating only a palm of that protein? Like, are you happy leaving stuff on the plate? And like even that, like if you looked at a meal, let's say you went to Nando's and had chicken, spicy rice, and some coleslaw, for example. If I had a palm of that chicken, so that's probably a quarter chicken. If I had a fist of that rice, anything left, I don't. Anything after that, I don't eat it. And she's happy to leave stuff on the plate. Her friends just think she's full. At no point has she ever said, "I'm dieting, I'm doing anything, I've changed my food." She's eating the same as everybody else. She's just using that guide to sort of control that portion size. I often send that on a plate. Like this is what a plate should look like when you go out. Get as close to that as you can. Don't eat more. I've got some pictures of that. I'll send you them.
Yeah, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah, not a problem. I'll put them into the announcements group so everyone can have them.
Yeah.
I'll
try like I'd say be like, right, you have a starter or you have a dessert. Like you don't need both.
Yeah.
No, I do that. I do that, but
does she stick to it or not really?
No. And then like I have like a question in my check-in form that like, did you weigh all your food today? If you didn't, that's fine. Did you have any meals out? And then if you did, what did you have? But like anytime she has something out, she'll leave all them blank rather than actually giving me details of what she has. Oh, I wasn't able to track because I was eating out. And like I have takeaway guides. Like I actually have guides for them with calories and stuff on it. Obviously they're 100% and portion size will differ, but I have some guides there for them and still it's like
it's not about logic there. It's about I wasn't sure, I was overwhelmed, so I just rather not do it. Like in like moments, if you probably had moments of this, especially early on in your business, right, where you knew you were supposed to do the outreach. Dean could tell you exactly who to message and how to message them. You got overwhelmed and didn't send a single message.
Yeah, that's
exactly. I still do that. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. It's like you have the guides. There are the DM scripts, right?
Yeah.
You don't do them because you're overwhelmed where to start. This is it. You're in Nando's. You're overwhelmed. You're stressed. Everyone's having different foods. You're like, oh, this is where sometimes, yes, in an ideal world, everyone would open up their MyFitnessPal and track, or in advance track what they think they're going to have on the menu. And like people who are about to step on a bodybuilding stage will absolutely do that and should do that because they need to be really, really precise. But it's like, what could I do on the fly? Like if I'm taken out for lunch last minute by somebody, what are the rules I can live by that? Yes, won't be perfect, but is in the ballpark. So I'll just send it to the announcements group now. I've got the endomorph one.
Yeah.
That's female. Should I put that in there?
Maybe she's also like afraid of letting you down or telling you the truth in case you judge her or something. Like that could be a thing, especially when eating out.
Yeah, no, like I'm so compassionate with her, like so compassionate. To be honest, I'm probably actually too soft on her. And I think maybe that's where I don't think she's scared to like tell me. As in, like I know with my coach, I absolutely dread telling her if I didn't tick all the boxes this week or, I didn't do everything perfect. Whereas she's no problem. Like, and maybe I'm just not as strict on her as maybe I should be. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe just needs a little bit more assertiveness. So she can get away with it, she will. I have a plate one somewhere. I've sent in the group the portion control guide for her, but I do have a plate one somewhere. I've got too many folders of stuff. I really do. Graphic, that's not that.
I think it's genuinely just setting expectations again and like reaffirming it. That I have the same sort of situation with clients where they do like he lost 10 kilos and then he's like, oh fuck, I just had a biscuit and I just couldn't stop. My mum keeps cooking me food. I was like, right, we can slow it down or we can come up with a different plan. But I think you got to be compassionate, but you've also got to be like, why are we here? Like, some people don't do as they're asked or won't do anything. And you're like, why have you come to me if you're not going to at least try at the same time? Like, you don't have to be super blunt with it. But I think if all you are is compassionate sometimes, they'd be like, oh, just do it next week. And you're like, right, okay. What you might do is be like, you have like 60 days till this wedding or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you want to look like you do now, or do you want to actually make progress? And it could be a case where you actually just go, like, I've had a couple of guys who struggled. I went, right, we're going to do a maintenance phase for a month. We're just going to hold weight, get your stress levels down, get everything else back to where we want it to be, hold as much as we can, and then for whatever agreed amount of time, we're going to do a sprint phase. It might be 4 weeks, 8 weeks. Let's get as much as we can off, do it, and then that's it. But I think if we're too nice a lot of the time, we're like, oh, it's okay, you went out, or yeah, what sort of cake? Like, I think ask for questions and like seem like you care with it, but also be like quite assertive because you are the one in charge and may have their say. But I think if you're like, right, you've had 5 takeaways this week, that's fine. But obviously it's going to take longer. What can we do next week that is going to like make us take a step forward instead of a step back? And even if that's for her 4 takeaways instead of 5, I think acknowledge that that's progress for her.
Mm.
Like, quite honestly, like that's something that I do with a lot of my guys. Like, I'm like, does your mum have to give you a whole garlic bread, or could you just bin some? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I have this conversation all the time. And for about a week or so, he's like, yeah, I'll do it. Does a couple of days. And I'm like, why was there fucking 4,000 calories on there when your target's 2,000? And he goes, oh, my mum just, I was like, right, screw your mum for a minute, right? I was like, you need to tell your mum this is what you're doing. Create an understanding with her where maybe if you know that she's going to cook your food all the time, and we know that that's 1,200 calories on average for like a bolognese and a garlic bread, you have 800 calories to play with that are going to do this for you. And that might work for them, because if they can then plan that ahead and be like, right, you're not going to go over if your mum cooks for you, but you also, what your mum is worried about you because she cares and she thinks you're getting too skinny or whatever. And I was like, right, involve her in the process.
Yeah.
And if that means involving her friends in the process or her partner or whatever else, for her to be like, oh, actually, because then that opens up another support network with that rather than it just being you. And I think, especially with my clients' mum and stuff, it's like, right, if you've always had your food cooked for you, it's very hard to get away from that. Like, I hadn't cooked for myself until I was like 21. So it was like very difficult for me to get stuff going when my grandparents were like, why are you eating all this? Why are you doing all that? And it's like very difficult to be like, because I want to change.
Yeah.
Like, people need to get that understanding. But I think if we can come up with loads of solutions to a possible problem and be like, does this work? No. Are you willing to give it, not even give it up, but are we able to like quantify it in some way? Then cool. It's like the same thing is if you program someone 5 days a week and they go twice, you don't give them a 5-day plan. You're like, right, cool. Let's be realistic with what we can actually do. If you aren't in respect, like, some people aren't ready to lose weight. And I think that's a massive reality with this. It's like, you've come to me to lose weight, but maybe we need to work on some other things before we can do that.
Yeah.
Like, I think you've got to be quite like, not harsh, but you've got to be like, right, realistically, she's 30, she's 100 kilos. Like, it doesn't happen accidentally.
No,
Like,
I 100% agree with you, Kane.
That's a
100%.
good thing to say as well. It doesn't happen accidentally. That's a great sentence.
Like, I went from like 80 kilos to like 105. Didn't happen by accident. It's just because I fucking like stopped weighing myself, stopped taking care of myself, and took other things as a priority. But I think you've got to be like, right, you've lost 8 kilos. What does she weigh now?
112, 113.
So she went from 121 kilos to 113 or whatever. Be like, what's stopping you going back that way?
Yeah.
And for me, my goal, like personally, isn't a photo shoot. It's to never look like I did in that start photo and get as far away from that as possible. So I think if you can go, right, you don't want to go back there, but get her as far away from that as possible rather than be like, I need you at 60 kilos. Like she's already like 8 kilos down. Like
Yeah.
that's a big amount of change for her. And that's what, like 10% ish from what she was. So I think you just need to say, right, you've done well. Let's not make it a waste. Let's make sure we're never going to go back to that position and make sure that the only way you can go is an improvement rather than it being, you know, sometimes she'll lose like 0.2 a week. Like that's fine. Not at that amount of weight, that's still a decent amount of weight. Like it's not something to like look down on with it in any way. But B to her, like if you want, we lose 0.2% a week. But just know it's going to take you 10 years to lose a stone. Like that's fine. You know what I mean? But I think some people like to lose quickly, some people don't. And
Yeah.
especially if there's a lot of social occasions and a lot of work stress and a lot of these other things, the reality is that there's going to be less of a result. And I think that's just something that you almost got to like reaffirm with her, be like, right, you've come to me for a reason. I'm giving you solutions. We agreed to lose 0.5% a week. That hasn't happened. Are you happy not losing that? Or do we want another strategy where we can still do that? But
Less
you know,
amount. Yeah.
I'd say that's like where I'd go with it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's assertive. It's assertive empathy. You're empathetic for the struggles she has, but it doesn't change the realities of the circumstances she's in.
Okay.
So like, look, I appreciate that it's hard. Like getting 8,000 steps when you used to like 2 is difficult, right? Let's start getting 3. Let's start getting 4. Let's start working up towards this number. So it's like, look, you're going to need to do some level of movement. You're going to need to have some level of protein. You need to make sure you stay in a deficit. And you're probably going to need to do some resistance training in some way, shape, or form. Now, I understand all those things may be difficult or maybe so too alien to you, and I can totally understand that. But if you want this goal, we have to work towards these things. So, like, it's being empathetic, but not necessarily being empathetic where you move. If you move the goalpost, you've set new goalposts. You know, it's like, no, it's okay, don't worry, let's just do maintenance. You know, like, because unless she said, I specifically want that, it's like people go, oh, they're trying to find the way they can have their cake and eat it too. And I think that your coach shall needs to be assertive enough that you're still working towards a goal. You're still doing the job. And then it's up to her how you get there. But you have to do the job. Sweet
Yeah, I
guy.
think I need to actually just get her on a call now and see how that goes and go from there and just kind of plan out. Like, as I said, I like when we first started, it was like, we'll go into a diet. Well, to be honest, the first 4 weeks, I was kind of like, let's just focus on getting all health markers in a good place first. That was great. As I said, the first few weeks went really, really well. But then when it was like, right, we're going into a deficit now, nothing on. Then literally as week 1 went, she was finding something every weekend. And since then, it's just been a domino effect. But I think what like a few of the points Kane made there, very, very true. I think it's like, you know, obviously you've lost 8 kg. That's absolutely fantastic. Like, we don't want to go back, but why can't we? What is kind of holding you at that marker that we can't push past that 8 kg either? And just
Why
obviously
is she finding things? Why is she finding events? Like, it's more about the why she's doing that than the fact that she's doing that.
Yeah. So just, I suppose, to kind of get a better understanding of, I suppose, her values again, because I feel like they have changed a small bit. And now college is finishing this week, so she will have more free time, but there will be another excuse. I have no doubt about it. There will be something else. But I think I need to get her on before she finds another excuse as to, okay, well, I can't do this because I've this in the evenings or I've this in the evenings. I need to get her on and get her sorted with a new plan before she finds that excuse.
Yeah. Kane, are you going to add something quickly before we shoot?
How often do you ask her difficult questions? Like, that's something. Like, literally, ask her, what positives are there to staying where we are? Because
So-
like literally write it out, because there will be some. It might be like, well, I get social occasions, I fit in with the group, I can eat what I want, I can have a lot of social time with my boyfriend, I can do all these other things. It means I don't have to go to the gym, it means I don't have to track my food, it means I don't have to do the step. And there will probably be more positives and negatives, and that's why she's staying where she is. But until you make her think, then she's not going to do it. But I know for me, there were positives of staying where I was.
Yeah.
There was also negatives, but I think it has to like outweigh the positives of the negatives for someone to change a lot of the time. And like realistically, she might just be very comfortable, like where she's at.
Yeah.
Like I think it's very difficult to actually get. But I know when before I lost weight last time round, or this time round, I was like, I could stay here. But it was also like I could go out all the time. I could go and have beers without thinking about how many calories are in a hooch. I
Yeah.
could go out with my girlfriend. I could do whatever I wanted. I didn't really have. I could, I was known as being a lot stronger than other people because I weighed like 25% more than I did. There was all these things where it's like, oh, maybe people respect me because I can press 50-kilo dumbbells. And then it's like, yeah, but is that because I'm fat or is it because I'm like whatever? And then it's like the negatives of that were like I lost a lot of business. I had a lot of low self-confidence, all these other things where it's like, am I actually leading by example? Like there were aspects in there, and I think it takes like there will be something that will just click. Like I knew for a long time that I'd let myself go a bit, but I didn't really do anything about it. And then one day I was like, oh fuck it, I need to like reach out to someone and like ask for help. And like she's done that. That's the
Yeah.
hard part. But I think if you go, what are the positives and what are the negatives of where we're at, and then reestablish it. I don't know if you did it on like a startup call, be like, what's going to change if we lose another 20 kilos? And why is that going to benefit you? And why is that not going to benefit you? And if she says what, because it's like she won't have an answer for why it's not going to positively do it for her. She'd be like, oh, well, I don't think anything would go wrong with losing 20 kilos. And it's like, well, what if your friends don't want to hang out with you anymore because you're not the fat one? You know what I mean? There will be things there where she's not comfortable moving forward because she's scared of losing the thing she has now.
No, I 100% agree with you. And you see, my problem is that when I'm doing check-ins, I send video feedback. So I'm not actually talking to them on a call. So I think what I might do this week is to everyone that's not seeing progress, I might send around a questionnaire.
Yeah.
But advice on questions that I'm not going to like sound like an absolute bitchin is my is my thing.
That's the tricky.
Sometimes you need to.
Yeah, sometimes you need to. I would say like I think if people are really struggling, jump on a call. And I think that makes that easier. And I think even in your check-ins, like don't necessarily be, even though you won't get an answer on video feedback, don't be scared to ask the difficult question on the Loom recording, because what you're doing is planting the seed. Now you might not find the answer, but you say if you ask that question that Kane said, like what are the reasons why it won't positively impact you to lose another 10 kilos, and what the reasons why it would, it plants a seed in her brain that she's now going to think about. They might not, but that's when you have your calls, right? And then that's probably the best way to do it. But like if you're asking those questions, it plants the seed, and if you do it frequently enough, you plant that seed more, and that seed be watered and grown. And it might not change things; they might still hide away from it. But it's if that's the only medium you've got because you're not getting on a call every week with somebody, that may be the way to start it.
Okay.
And you're playing with the tools you've got at your disposal. I think with regards to questions you can ask in a form, I would keep it relatively open and vague to start with. Run us through your goals. Run us why they're important, like 3 to 5 reasons why they're important to you. What will change in your life if you achieve this goal? List 3 positive and 3 negative things. Like you could be asking those sort of questions, and it's not you're calling anyone out. You're leaving it open to discussion, but you're guiding it. That's where I'd go with that. But guys, I have to shoot for another call, but hopefully this has been helpful. Guys,
It was brilliant. Thanks a million, guys.
no
Really
problem at all.
appreciate it.
I'll catch you guys soon.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.